I was arrested the same day my students cried and begged me not to leave. 1 minute a little girl with shaking hands forcing a bracelet into my palm. "Don't forget us, Miss Emma." And the next 5 armed officers dragging me into an interrogation room like I had just done something unforgivable. The warmth of that bracelet still lingering against my skin like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. And when Detective Lucas Grant slid the evidence bag across the table and asked me to explain it, I almost smiled, because it was just a bracelet, just something the kids made for me out of wild walnuts, until he calmly pushed a forensic report in front of me and said, 32 polished human finger bones from at least 5 children. And just like that, my reality split open, because I knew who gave it to me. I could still see Lily's red eyes and trembling smile as she pressed it into my hand. "So you won't forget us." And now he was telling me she had been dead for 20 years. Her name printed clearly on a mass casualty list from Shenyang Village, a place that, according to every official record, had been wiped out in a mining disaster 2 decades ago, with 127 deaths and no survivors. And when he showed me drone footage of burnt ruins and collapsed walls, when he asked me what sounded more reasonable, that a dead village came back to life, or that I had invented it to survive grief after my brother died, I couldn't answer, because for the first time doubt wasn't theoretical, it was inside me, crawling through my chest like something alive. And when they locked me in a gray holding cell and left me alone with those questions, I almost believed him, almost accepted that I had spent 8 years talking to ghosts that never existed, until I forced myself to think, because hallucinations don't have texture, they don't smell like tobacco on Old Man Lee's clothes, they don't leave chalk dust on your fingers, or teach you how to survive day after day. And then a detail struck me like lightning. In 8 years, not a single villager had ever crossed the old locust tree at the entrance, not once, not even the children. And the village chief had always warned me not to leave the mountain, said the air outside was bad, and no one ever let me take photos, said cameras would steal souls, and my phone never had signal. And suddenly those weren't harmless quirks anymore. They were patterns, deliberate absences, and I realized if I was insane, then my life still needed logistics, plies, money, and somewhere those had to exist in the real world. And at the same time, Lucas was discovering the same thing from the other side, my bank records showing 8 years of regular online purchases, but not a single cash withdrawal. Every package delivered to a pickup station at the base of the mountain. And when they found the old mailman, he admitted he had been leaving my packages at an abandoned shrine, knocking 3 times and leaving, never going up the mountain, never seeing me, never seeing anyone. And that contradiction, me remembering handing him water, him insisting he never met me, fractured reality into 2 incompatible truths. And when Lucas brought me back in, I told him everything, every inconsistency, every detail. And for the first time he didn't look at me like I was broken, just said, "We already found the mailman." And when he told me what the old man said, hope rose and died in the same breath. But then he showed me something else. The mineral residue found between the bone beads, something that didn't exist in any known database. And that was the crack he needed, because he didn't say he believed me, he said he believed something was wrong. And then he made the decision that changed everything. He took me back, and the drive up the mountain felt like a trial, because if the village was gone, then I really was insane, and if it wasn't, then something far worse was waiting. And when we reached the overgrown path, I didn't hesitate, I walked straight into it, memory guiding my steps through waist-high grass until we reached the locust tree. And when I stepped past it, the world changed instantly, warmth replacing the cold forest air, sunlight spilling across a familiar village, children running, laughing, calling my name, Lily at the front with her arms wide open, and for a second, everything made sense again. I turned to Lucas ready to prove it, and froze, because he wasn't seeing any of it, his face pale, eyes locked on empty space, and when I looked back, the image overlapped, Lily's body merging with a dead twisted tree, his body camera recording me smiling and crying at nothing. And that was the moment I understood we weren't in the same reality. I ran to the classroom, showed him the chalkboard with the poem I had written the day before, but he saw only a crumbling wall, and when I reached out, my fingers passed through the illusion and scraped real dust, leaving a visible mark. And that mark changed everything. Something existed beyond explanation, and when the bracelet began to glow faintly, I felt them guiding me, pulling me toward the mountain behind the village. And this time Lucas followed without questioning, and we found a hidden mine entrance deliberately sealed, contradicting every official report. And before he could call it in, armed men appeared, too deliberate to be hikers, their eyes watching us and the entrance like predators. and just as tension broke, the mountain itself intervened, fog rolling in thick and unnatural, disorienting them, while I felt the children guiding me through hidden paths into a narrow opening, leading us into the mine, where the smell of decay and time hit us first, and then the light revealed the truth. Bones, endless bones, stacked, scattered, far more than any accident could explain. And when we found the diary of the village chief, the story unfolded piece by piece. A man named Victor Zoe, discovering a glowing mineral, exploiting the villagers, exposing them to something that caused hallucinations and physical decay. Children becoming translucent, minds unraveling. And when the villagers realized the truth, he slaughtered them to cover it up, staging the disaster, burning everything, burying them in the mine, and in that moment I understood everything. The villagers hadn't just died, they had been trapped, their consciousness tied to the mineral, creating a parallel existence repeating their lives. And my own grief had made me resonate with them, allowing me to enter that world. And for 8 years I hadn't been teaching illusions, I had been teaching souls that refused to disappear. And before we could process it, the explosion hit, the entrance collapsing, trapping us in darkness as they tried to bury us with the truth. Air thinning, panic rising, but I refused to die there, not before exposing him. And when I called out to my students, they answered, their presence guiding me to a blocked tunnel. And for the first time, Lucas didn't question me. We dug together until we broke through, crawling into daylight, alive. And in that moment, I stopped being a victim, because I realized something cold and clear. He thought we were dead, and that meant I had the advantage. So 2 nights later, I walked into his charity gala dressed in white, calm, controlled, invisible until I chose not to be. And I told the story softly at first. The children, their dreams, their lives, building sympathy until the room leaned toward me. Recognized me, and his composure cracked for a second before he forced it back. And then I shifted, raised my wrist, showed the bracelet under the lights, and said, "These are the children you buried." And when he tried to dismiss me as insane, the screens lit up with the footage, the bones, the diary, the truth. And I watched his face collapse as denial gave way to fear, and then to something uglier, until he broke completely, confessing in front of everyone, exposing himself. And just like that, the power reversed completely. The man who buried a village, reduced to a trembling figure begging for escape that no longer existed. Justice followed. Arrests, trials, execution, the truth spreading across the country, and I was cleared. But I didn't want recognition, I wanted them to rest. So the government rebuilt the site as a memorial, and I returned one last time, standing before rows of small graves with chalk in my hand, teaching my final lesson, writing goodbye on small blackboards, placed before each child. And when the sunlight broke through, I saw them again, all of them, no longer trapped, stepping past the locust tree into the light, Lily waving at me with a smile that wasn't sad anymore. And then they were gone, not erased, but released, and the bracelet turned to dust in my hand, scattering into the wind. And I understood then that those 8 years were never a delusion. They were the most real thing I had ever lived. And I used everything that came after to build something in their name, a foundation for children in remote places, because I had learned something the world tried to take from me. Some truths don't belong to reality alone, some lives don't end just because history says they should, and some ghosts don't haunt, they wait to be remembered. And I didn't forgive what happened. I didn't move on, I carried it forward, turned it into something that couldn't be buried again, because the world tried to erase them once, and I made sure it would never get the chance to do it twice. They called me insane because my truth didn't fit their world. I didn't survive the lie, I exposed it. He thought burying them would end the story. I didn't lose 8 years, I uncovered 20 years of silence. Justice doesn't come to people like him, you have to drag it into the light.